لتطوير التعاون الثنائي الاقتصادي والعسكري إلى مستويات غير مسبوقة.
Discussing regional and international developments. Solid and strong relations on the path of partnership and development.
Right, welcome back, and to our discussion, we have with us over the phone Mr. Ramzy Khoury, Palestinian analyst, political analyst. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Ramzy.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm sorry, the voice is a bit far.
Right, I'll try to raise my voice as much as possible. We are here following up with the escalation in the Palestinian occupied territories. Would you please describe the scene?
The situation is very bad because the settlers are attacking the civilians inside of the West Bank, in addition to the regular attacks that are always expected by the Israeli occupation forces. So the settlers have been given this green light, and they are using live fire. They are torching houses, they are torching cars and vehicles, and this is where we are today. Now, as you know, there was a meeting in Aqaba,
yes.
Jordan, which was attended by both the Palestinian and Israeli sides, but also by Egypt and by Jordan and America. And they agreed that the Israelis were going to slow down in Aqaba. They agreed that the Israelis are going to stop the attacks. They agreed that the Israelis were going to put a freeze on settlement building. The Israeli government went back to Tel Aviv and declared immediately that they will not stop settlements. They increased the military action on the ground, and that was pretty much in defiance of the USA and the other parties that attended the Aqaba meeting.
Mr. Ramzy, here I have to quote what the Israelis exactly said, and here the Israeli Prime Minister and the senior officials in his far-right government have been quickly dismissing the results of the Al-Aqaba meeting just the next day, where the ultra-right National Security Minister Ben Gvir said what happened in Jordan will stay in Jordan. These were the exact words of the minister. How do you view how things are escalating, and how does that reflect in the Palestinian territories and in the whole Middle East because of such provocations at that exact timing?
Of course, there are internal issues inside of Israel, and these internal issues will influence the actions of the Israeli government, including what it is going to say in public. But and the actions that we're talking about are simply after Netanyahu and his right-wing coalition government decided to pass new laws in Parliament. And by the way, the draft of these laws have been posted the first reading. So he has a very, he is capable of passing these laws. These laws would reduce the ability of the Israeli higher courts and give many of its powers to the parliament that he controls. And the reason why he's adamant about doing that is because what he wants to get away with all of the corruption lawsuits that have been raised against him. And the best way to do it is to just basically kill as much of the justice system as he can and take the decision to the politicians. And since he has a majority in parliament, then he's going to get away with murder. But part of these laws as well include a law that will allow Israel to execute Palestinian prisoners. And the reason why they are pushing this law, talking about an ultra-right-wing government, right, to kill Palestinians. So basically what we're talking about is a judicial disaster. Now many come to the streets, demonstrations in the hundreds of thousands. And we also have now some of the Israeli military also saying, going out in demonstrations and declaring that they do not want to serve if Netanyahu gets away with his new laws, with the So these internal troubles, the best way for Netanyahu to try to get out of it is if there is major violence with the Palestinians. This will keep the Israeli people very busy with that violence, supposedly. This is what he's trying to do as well. So to him, stopping the violence against the Palestinians in the West Bank is not a good idea. What he needs to do is he needs to escalate in order to keep his own people who are revolting against him busy.
Mr. Ramzy, this Israeli government is one of the most far-right governments that has been installed in
I'm so sorry, there is a problem with the connection. I can't hear the question.
Again, this Israeli government is by far the most excessive in statements, in deeds, in all its do's on the ground.
I am so sorry. I still cannot hear the question very well. The voice is very far on my end.
Again, I will raise my voice, so I'll try to raise my voice so you can hear it. Can you hear it correctly now?
Thank you. Thank you. This is much better.
Right. So again, this Israeli government is one of the most excessive far-right governments that that were installed in Israel. And we've seen very, very dangerous statements coming out from different ministers. The latest of which was to wipe out a complete village.
Hawara.
Yes, exactly. How do you view the provocations or the provocative actions of settlers, and how do you view the actions of the government towards those provocations, and why this time the West Bank and Al-Quds, not Gaza?
Well, first of all, this is a government of the settlers. For the first time, we have a government that is made up of right-wingers who are representative of the settlers in the West Bank, and like Ben Gvir, who is the head of internal security today. This is a guy who was blacklisted as a terrorist inside of Israel by the Israelis. And he was given by Netanyahu, he was given this ministry that basically allows him to go down and kill Palestinians. There has never been so many Palestinians killed in such a very short time by the Israeli forces. You are talking about over 70 Palestinians killed, and we are still at the beginning of March, since the beginning of this year. So in 2.5 months, they managed to kill sporadically and on different occasions. Almost every day there is a Palestinian who gets killed by this government. But this is the government of settlers. So what they are doing now is they have given a full green light to the settlers to do whatever they want in terms of rampage, killing, burning property, and just like they did in Hawara, that was a whole village that was destroyed by settlers, and the settlers were protected by the Israeli army. The settlers do not have the guts to go into a town, burn it, and kill people without protection. The Israeli army protected them. And as the Israeli army protected them, we can only assume that this Israeli government gave them the green light to start with. So this is basically where we are today. And let me tell you, the Palestinians are not going to be a sitting duck. They're not going to hang around and get killed without any response. And that's why we heard a lot of Palestinians come out and voice their dismay for the meeting that happened in Aqaba, because they don't believe Israel. Israel can make promises, but this Israeli government is not going to implement these promises. And therefore they were angry that the Palestinians actually went and attended that meeting. Now, the Palestinians have no choice. They will go and they will attend meetings. Otherwise, the USA, the EU, and international powers are going to blame the Palestinians as usual. So the Palestinians have to humor all of this, despite the fact that they know that they are not going to be able to achieve much. So where is this gonna go? This could escalate. There could be a third intifada, and all of that could happen. Let us also keep an eye on what's going on inside of Israel with the Israeli demonstrations against this government. Unfortunately, this is a government that enjoys the majority inside of the Knesset, because Netanyahu and his Likud party are the allies of all of the radical settlers now. That's how they made it to parliament, and this is why they have a majority. So it's not we cannot be optimistic that the government will actually do the right thing.
Mr. Khoury, how, from your point of view, does escalation in the Palestinian occupied territories and the Israeli provocation reflect on the global situation, which is hardly hit by this Russian-Ukraine war from one side, economies that are collapsing from the other side, disastrous and crises that are occurring on the third side, escalation in rhetoric or the verbal escalation between some of the states who are very much into this particular scene?
Well, obviously it plays a very big role, because the world is very busy on the Ukrainian-Russian front. The USA, the last thing that the USA wants is to engage on the Palestinian-Israeli front. Israel has full impunity, and Israel is depending on this, on all of this, that the Europeans and the Americans and the world is very busy elsewhere. The USA for sure and Europe for sure do not look at the Palestinian-Israeli issue as a crisis, because this is an ongoing issue, whereas the big problem that they have to face today is the war between Russia and Ukraine and how that affects Europe. And under the circumstances, Israel can get away doing what Israel may not have been able to do before. So this situation calls for an alarm. And this is why we've heard the Americans criticize Israel softly, whether they did it at the UN or they did it also yesterday out of the White House in a statement. They did criticize Israel. They criticized Israel, as usual, softly. Israel knows that no criticism that comes from the US or the UN is going to mean anything. It is not going to be interpreted into any resolutions that are going to be imposed on Israel. All of the UN resolutions have not been implemented by Israel. And Israel hasn't paid a price. They haven't paid any price. So Israel expects that this is going to be business as usual. And Europe is extremely busy elsewhere. They will shut an eye and let Israel do whatever it wants to do. Now, the Palestinians have been extremely engaged on the diplomatic front. This is why yesterday we had an EU delegation come down. And the EU delegation went down and visited Khoury. And they saw with their own eyes what the Israelis did in Khoury. And they made a statement. So the Europeans and the Americans are telling Israel, be quiet, stop doing this, because we really do not need your problems in addition to all of the problems that we are facing on the Ukraine-Russia front. So this is where it is right now. And I hope I answered your question.
Well, Mr. Ramzy Khoury, Palestinian political analyst, lots and lots of questions remain here to be asked. Importantly and more seriously before the international community, and where would that lead? Thank you so much for being with us. Egypt has reiterated its warnings, and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has warned several times that of the dire consequences are of the situations first during the support to Jerusalem Day, and in different occasions where the President has sincerely and seriously warned of dire consequences on the Middle East and the whole world. At this very critical time, the whole globe is passing by. Remains to be seen what will happen during the upcoming days and weeks, and definitely will be updating you. That brings us to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. Goodbye.